Today on Locked On Red Wings, Detroit blows its lead with 30 seconds left, falling to the Blues in St. Louis. Blues extending their win streak to 10 straight games.
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley. Scotty is the host over at Locked On Tigers, as well as a sports writer for C&G newspapers, while I am a color commentator for Oakland University ACHA D1 men's hockey. And I want to thank you guys for making us your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And when you get done listening to us here, go listen to Scotty again over at Locked On Tigers as they improved to 2-3 and are locked in a, four-way tie for first place in the AL Central in the young season.
Yeah, man. It's been a fun last couple of games. Once you get past the greatest roster ever assembled, baseball's pretty fun.
Yeah, go figure. Teams lose to the Dodgers. Who would have thought? All right. This hockey game, Scotty, unfortunately did not go the Red Wings' way as they pick up an OT point, but with Montreal's miraculous comeback with 9 seconds left to tie it and then ultimately win in overtime in Florida, now the Red Wings sit 4 points back with 8 games remaining as any glimmer of hope continues to just slowly slip away at their own doing. Scotty, game concludes 2-1, overtime loss to the Blues in St. Louis. What is your initial reaction and summary of this game?
My initial reaction was a giant sigh. That was my reaction. I was like, okay. I don't even think I said any words. It was just, like, here we are, man. Like, this is, unfortunately, the situation that the team has put itself in with the play of, well, just coming out of the Four Nations break, I guess. But it is, I almost want to use the word impressive, how this team has managed to find itself in these types of like finishes, and not like that dramatic. That was kind of a new level of over the top drama for sure. But it feels like something always goes wrong, I guess is my point. It's always something, man. Like there's not just a game where everything is normal. Like there always has to be something that goes wrong. You know, if it's not this, it's that. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like my thoughts after the game were just that, you know, this is probably over.
And what, in your opinion, was that something in this hockey game? Because you're right, it is always something, but what went wrong that led to this loss?
Yeah, you know, I guess kind of contradicting myself, there's a few things that immediately pop into my mind, but like this one I felt was, I was frustrated at the end because they were getting outshot to heck for a lot of that game, especially in the first half of the game. They closed the gap a little bit there in the middle or, you know, late second period, whatever. This was frustrating because it would have been an awesome win for momentum purposes. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like if they hold on to that lead, it's like, wow, this is a shutout win, a really big win heading into the weekend. When we play again, we just talked Friday. And I feel like in this game, they were not getting a lot of offensive opportunities. Again, obviously in the first half of the game, and still were able to find themselves on top of a team that is the hottest team in hockey. And it was like, this is impactful. Like this can kind of help with momentum, and any momentum they had just completely wind out the sails moment.
Yeah, I mean, it was a frustrating game. Obviously, the most frustrating part is having the lead late and blowing it with 30 seconds left, because I mean, this is one of many things. It feels like the Red Wings get scored on with the goalie pulled so much with the opponent when the opponent pulls their goalies. They get scored on in that 6-on-5 kill, let's call it, so often it feels like. And then meanwhile, whenever they pull their goalie for the 6-on-5, they never are able to get that same goal. That clutch goals that we saw late last season to propel them to just barely missing the playoffs, they don't have that this year. They don't. And so that's frustrating. The choking away of games late, that's frustrating. The fact that I don't even think that they played that poorly in this hockey game was frustrating. And that might come to a shock to some people because they were outshot, 37-21. You read that, you're like, holy smokes, this team got their doors blown off. But it didn't feel like that watching it. And like your point, Scotty, yes, the quantity of shots, yes, St. Louis definitely had the wide edge, but the quality was, I thought, damn near even. In fact, the high danger chances at 5-on-5 were 12-1 in favor of the Red Wings. The Red Wings, on less shots, had just as many high-quality opportunities. And if you were to ask me who I thought had the better grade A opportunities in this game, I would say it was the Red Wings, but they couldn't bury it. And so I guess my first thought in this hockey game overall was just frustration, which is the ongoing trend. I was curious, too, because it feels like it's been forever since this team has been able to win games back-to-back. And I was like, when was the last time the Red Wings won 2 in a row? Not even talking about a winning streak where it's 3 or more.
What a high bar.
Back wins.
Yeah, what a high bar we've set.
They have not won back-to-back wins since February 23rd and February 25th. That's Anaheim and then in Minnesota. That was it's been over a month since they've won back-to-back games, which shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone. We all know how terrible they are historically in the month of March recently, but it's just frustrating. Frustration on top of frustration on top of frustration. Finding new ways to lose every single night, even when you're playing defensively. I thought this was another great game. I thought this was back-to-back games. Boston the other night, when they got the 2-1 win, it was a great defensive performance. I thought this was a solid defensive performance too, especially as the game went on. They were winning more and more crucial board battles, but they just could not, like you said, if it's not one thing, it's another. Like this was a very Lalonde, these last 2 games were very Lalonde-esque games, where defensively they're playing well. They're giving up a lot of shots, but they're limiting the high-danger opportunities, but they're not scoring. So it's either they're scoring but giving up a ton. They're not giving up a ton, but they're not scoring. Their penalty kill is awful, but their power play is good. Their power play is great, but their penalty kill is awful. It's like, it always feels like one half of the equation is just always out of sync. And that's what happened again in this game, too. I mean, the penalty kill, we'll talk about, talking about difference makers, Scotty, I was prepared to come on here if they had sealed that out, right? I had it in my mind with like a minute left. I'm like, I know what my difference makers are if they hold on. Been Cam Talbot and the penalty kill. I think that was the best we've seen the penalty kill all year long. But they just keep finding refreshing ways to lose, let's call it.
Yeah, it's impressive. Like I said, like it almost is impressive because I can remember at times you and I would come on this show and we'd be like, okay, like, do you guys just want to hear about how we lost in the same exact way for the, 5th time in a row, right? Like, I can remember those days 2 seasons ago where it was like, yeah, this team just loses the same way every single game. This is not that. It's miraculous. Like they genuine, and like the penalty kill has been awful all year. Like that, like there are things that they obviously struggle with consistently. But the way that they lose specifically genuinely does feel like close your eyes and reach into a bag and like pull out a new. It's like, oh, we're gonna like this is the winner today, and like we're gonna lose because of we can't bury the puck in the back of the net in this one, and then it's always something, and it's not a real consistent. It's exhausting.
Yes, it is. Scotty, let's head to a break here. When we return, we will talk to the people about our difference makers, the difference makers that ended up being the actual difference makers in this game, not the ones that I wanted it to be when I thought they were going to win, and then move on to notable performers And as you like to say on Locked On Tigers, stuff. We'll have a stuff category at the end because pretty notable decision was made by a top-tier Red Wings prospect on Tuesday. So stay tuned to that on Locked On Red Wings.
Got to talk to y'all today about our friends over at Wonderful Pistachios. If you're looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious, crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts, with each 1 ounce serving having 6 grams of protein that gives you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. Personally, I love the no shells variety. It's the perfect grab and go snack for busy days, whether I'm snacking on my desk, on a road trip, or need a quick protein boost. They are always my go-to. And if you do love cracking open every single shell for that satisfying crunch, well, the in-shell options are a classic favorite as well. So get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more.
Segment 2, that was smooth. You were smooth with it there, dude.
I was like,
Absolutely.
dude, let me try this and see if this works.
Dude, incredible work by Scotty. Segment 2, Locked On Red Wings podcast. All right, buddy. Difference makers in this hockey game. That was a really cathartic riff in segment 1, but we did not talk
that's on me completely. I took like 6 minutes to say 4 words there. I had a hard time deciding what words I wanted to use for those, but yeah, man, I like you said, rather, I agree with you. I was fully prepared to go into the difference maker segment and talk about the kill and talk about goaltending, because obviously Talbot faced a lot of shots and whatnot. And obviously there's also a part of you that could just go, well, the literal difference maker was the, blowing the game at the end, right? Like the goal that tied the game in regulation to send it into overtime. I think in kind of similar to what I said at the beginning of the show, like I am very focused on the lack of offense in the first 15 to 25 minutes of the game. And like, it won't get looked at very closely when it's all said and done, because it's the first half and the Wings were winning, going into the third period there. But like, I feel like there was a lot of opportunities left on the table early.
Oh, yeah.
And if you take advantage of any of those, then there's not so much pressure to maintain a shutout against a team that's on a W9. So I think that is like a weird, like niche and very specific difference maker, but like missed opportunities in the first period and a half, I guess is kind of what I'll focus on in this one, man. I just feel like if any of those go your way, you're, I guess kind of Captain Obvious statement, but you have a lot less pressure on you there at the very end of the hockey game. I mean,
you could take that and expand upon it too, right? Like through the first 2 periods, the Red Wings had 6 5-on-5 shots on net. That was 3 in the first, 3 on the second. So it's not just the lack of the quality of the opportunities; it's just the lack of the quantity of the opportunities too. They've been starting so slow lately in regards to shots. It feels like I don't have the data to back it up, but this is just based on how my vibes are going right now. It feels like every single time the first period's over, you're looking at 9 or fewer shots in a period, 7 or fewer shots in a period. I think this one was 5 I think it was legitimately 3 shots at the end of the first period, because I don't think they got their first power play until the second. So it's just, they didn't get their first power play until the second period. So it's incredibly frustrating that they continue to start slow in games with this much magnitude. And obviously they got the lead. Compher gets his 9th. It was a nice play, right? The assist by Berggren to pull it off of Binnington's pad and then go backdoor. Compher had all the time in the world. I'm happy for Compher to get another goal. But the lack of offense at 5-on-5 in particular, too. And I mean, again, you want to back up and expand it even further beyond the first 25. The 5-on-5 offense is nearly invisible with this team since Four Nations break. So it's been an issue, and I don't think you're wrong for calling it the difference maker. I said I was going to go with Talbot, right, if the Red Wings won, but I think with the loss, it's only appropriate to go with Binnington on the flip side. He didn't face nearly as many shots as Talbot did, but the saves he made in this game, some of them were incredible. 20 saves on 21 shots. He made some acrobatic saves. He just was Red Wings got goalied again, and it seems to be happening a lot. And at a certain point, when you get goalied so often, you're like, okay, maybe it's us and not the goalies. That's the problem. But he was great again, acrobatic, and so was Cam Talbot, right? Cam Talbot was absolutely phenomenal. He made some crazy big saves, especially late in the game up until that goal happened, but that goal's not on him. I was impressed by both the goaltenders in this one. Cam Talbot had a goal saved above expected of 1.93, and Jordan Binnington had a goal saved above expected of 2.09, so both just spectacular in this game.
Yeah, I mean, that I think most people that follow the sport of hockey are pretty aware of Binnington's status, I guess is the word I'll use, among the NHL and kind of how the media perceives him, especially after Four Nations. Definitely a guy that's having a very solid calendar year and was phenomenal in this hockey game.
I also want to shout out the penalty kill. I did it in segment 1, but just talk more about what made the penalty kill so successful in this one. 3 for 3 in this hockey game, and I think this was probably the best I've seen the penalty kill all season long. They really did not give up any grade A opportunities to the Blues whatsoever, and where they really succeeded and where they made their money in this game was along the boards. They were winning. This is something you have not been able to say a whole lot this season at 5-on-5 or on the penalty kill, but they were winning a lot of those board battles for the puck and able to chip that puck up and down the ice. So much so that, like I said, I was ready to give that as a difference maker in this hockey game if they pulled out the win, because in so many of these hockey games in which they've lost, a lot of it has to do with the penalty kill killing them, giving up 2-3 goals a game. In this one, they faced 3 penalties, killed them all off, and I thought that looked great.
Yeah, and we talked about it before, but it's so odd to me that this penalty kill is as bad as it is. Like, I feel like for a unit to be as bad as they have been, you had to have known. You should have known. Like we should have. You know what I mean? Like, it should have been blatantly obvious. Like, wow, the penalty kill is going to suck this year, and it wasn't. That was not a. It was not the expectation. Was not to have one of the worst penalty kills in hockey. Nonetheless, one of the worst penalty kills we've maybe ever seen. You know what I mean? It's so strange that with a lot of the returning players from the penalty kill last year, that wasn't bad at all, to have it look the way it does and produce the way it does this year is so frustrating and confusing and weird. And it's now 2 different coaches and it hasn't got any better. And it's just such a weird thing.
Well, and one of it is obviously they're not performing well on the penalty kill in terms of how they defend, but also they're not getting good goaltending on the penalty kill either.
Certainly doesn't help.
Cam Talbot has a .771 save percentage on the penalty kill this season, and obviously penalty save percentage is going to be lower. But I just want to put this out there for frame of reference, Scotty. That save percentage for Cam Talbot is in 41 games played. That is the most games played and the lowest save percentage amongst goalies with that many games played. Nice. Of goalies that have played at least, and 41 games, that's half the season. There's not a lot of goalies out there who play that many games anymore, but he has the lowest out of anyone who's played that many games. And if you want to just bounce it back lower, like to get a goaltender who has a as low or lower save percentage on the penalty kill, you'd have to look at Marc-Andre Fleury with 23 games played or Simon Varlamov with 10 games played for a .771 and a .733 save percentage. So you have to really lower that threshold to find a goaltender with a worse save percentage, but the goalies who have played significantly less amount of time. So Cam Talbot has, as much as the defense and the defense, the way they defend the penalty kill has been bad, the goaltending also has not helped them out on the PK either. And I think that goes a long way.
Yeah, goaltending hasn't helped them out since American Thanksgiving in any capacity. So,
yes, Scotty. We got to go to another break. Jeez. All right, we'll be back in segment 3 with more notable performers. We'll keep it brief before talking about Trey Augustine. Segment 3 of Locked On Red Wings coming up. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where the heck did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you just stop managing your money and start building wealth. When you start using Monarch, you're going to realize how much money you spent on food, things like food delivery, packages delivered to your front doorstep, and so much more. But you can budget smarter and save more using Monarch. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. Segment 3, Locked On Red Wings podcast. God knows I don't want to stretch this out any longer than it has to be. I'm ready to go to bed. We're recording this at like 12:40 in the morning because, of course, the Tigers had to pair up their West Coast road trip with the Red Wings going out to the Central Time Zone. So that was a fun doubleheader for us. Scotty, notable performers, who else you got?
Yeah, I mean, it's I don't know how notable the outside of the goal, but JT Compher, he has had such a frustrating season, and I don't know how much, like at this point, a nice finish to this year would really go in terms of like our perception of him or where he's going to be penciled into the lineup card this summer. But at a bare minimum, it's nice to see him get on the board, and hopefully, if there's anything that can come out of a hot finish to the year, hopefully we find out what that is, because I think that, I don't know, it would just be nice to see, man. Like it's been a frustrating year for him, I'm sure.
I am glad you brought up Compher because I did think he actually had a very strong game. Driving to the net a lot, strong on the puck while driving to the net a lot, created a couple opportunities. Obviously, he buried a goal, well-deserved goal, in which he was just sitting back to where the puck came to him. But outside of that as well, and you talk about the guys who were winning board battles, talk about a guy who was defending the puck as he was driving to the net. JT Compher was there a lot in this hockey game. He was one of the few players who, looked like they were providing an offensive spark out there when, honestly, the top six didn't do a whole heck of a lot in this hockey game. I also thought the top pair was phenomenal. Ben Chiarot and Moritz Seider were great. Moritz Seider had a 71% expected goal share in this hockey game. JT Compher had a 79% expected goal share in this hockey game. I know a lot of people are going to look at the 2 goals against and see Seider and Chiarot were out there, but honestly, like that's so far and away like, oh, Seider's a -1. Look at how much of that game they each played, the quality of competition they play on a night in and night out basis. We had to do this whole spiel last season with Moritz Seider. And he is playing phenomenal, and night in and night out is consistently your most consistent player, and one of, if not your best player on the team. And he comes from the back end. So Moritz Seider, 27 and a half more minutes for him in this hockey game. 3 blocked shots, 5 hits. Ben Chiarot, 4 blocked shots, 3 hits. I thought they played really, really well, despite the -1 on the stat sheet for at least Moritz Seider. So I wanted to shout them out too.
Yeah. Tarasenko with an assist.
But Tarasenko 2-on-1 in overtime. I know he got tripped up ultimately by Binnington. Take the shot, dude. What are you waiting for?
Brutal.
Not to brag on him, it was nice that he got the assist, but
did you see his time on ice in this game?
I have
He
not
played
peeked it.
like under 12 minutes. I
Yeah,
think it's like a few
11:59.
seconds under, but like he didn't hit the 12-minute mark.
Yeah, I mean, earned.
Yeah, no,
And
I don't say that in a wow, he should have played more way, that's for sure. It's just that's another one. Really frustrating season, obviously. Extremely frustrating season. And
yeah,
I think this summer we're going to have a lot of conversations about what his future looks like here for sure.
I also thought that um, I had some questions about how the 6-on-5 was played. Even, Ken Daniels mentioned it. Like, they sent Patrick Kane out there to defend the 6-on-5. And there was a lot of
Good
times where I
strategy.
felt they were chipping the puck out rather than trying to go for the net, or not chipping the puck out at all and maintaining it in the zone. And I'm like, what are you guys doing? Get the puck out. And ultimately, it wore them down. As much as I was praising them for winning those board battles, man, there's also so many times, and this is an ongoing problem too, where you get that puck, you got to get it out, and they'll like wait a half a second, or they'll like make one little pass inside the zone and ultimately lose control. You got to get that puck out when you're given the opportunity, and they did such a good job on the penalty kill all night long. But these 6-on-5s have been a disaster for the Red Wings. I mean, it feels like every single time the opponent pulls their goalie, they score a goal on the Detroit Red Wings, and it's infuriating to watch it continue to play out. So
yeah, certainly.
Final note tonight. Trey Augustine. My brain is starting to shut down, dude. Trey Augustine recommits to MSU.
I've been there since we hit record. My brain is it is literally taking me minutes to process words. I am absolutely feeling the effects here. I'm also sick. I'm getting over that. It's been a heck of a week.
Yeah, it's a night. But Trey Augustine stays at Michigan State University, his third year in college. I know a lot of people, myself included, like wanted him to turn pro. But if I'm going to be real with you, it makes perfect sense that he stays at MSU, given the situation in Grand Rapids.
Yeah, I have zero issue with this. I have no issue at all with this. Even aside from organizations, when they're planning out player development, do not look at other people at their position and compare them or go, oh, you're not going to get playing time there, whatever. This is completely in a vacuum and very unrelated to like Kosa and whether he's going to play in Grand Rapids next year or whether he's going to play in Detroit next year. This is just simply, you can play another year in college. He obviously had a great year. I'm sure he, made the decision and announced it, whatever. But like, I'm sure that he has talked with the organization about what, he wants to do, what they want him to do. Maybe the organization really wanted him to do something different. I don't know. But like, this is totally fine. And it is like good for him. I hope they, go back, and I hope he has a phenomenal year at State. This is not going to like stall or hurt his development. Like he everything's okay.
Yeah, I mean, the NCAA is an incredibly strong league to play in before turning pro. He's going to be perfectly fine with Michigan State, and obviously the decision there, partly because of the desire to run it back. Obviously heartbroken with how they lost to Cornell in the first game of the NCAA tournament.
I have a hard time believing that's the biggest motivator.
Right. Yeah. So there's kind of like with Michigan a couple years ago, where it's the idea that you have business left undone. And so a lot of those players return. Same instance here. They're getting Caden Lindstrom, reportedly, by the way, 4th overall pick by the Columbus Blue Jackets. That's a huge ad for Michigan State if that ends up being true. But I do also think, Scotty, that the situation in Grand Rapids did contribute to his decision too, right? Multiple things can be true at the same time. I think without assurances that Sebastian Kosa is going to be in the NHL, he'd rather get all the bulk of the starts in the NCAA rather than have to share a crease in Grand Rapids. And I'm sure that the organization, as much as they'd want him to turn pro too, also shared that idea, because they're not going to say to Trey Augustine, like, yeah, Kosa's going to be up next year. They need Kosa to earn it. And if Costa doesn't earn it, then you have both Trey and Costa down in Grand Rapids, and that doesn't benefit either goalie to be sharing time in the crease. That needs to be development time for one of the two of them. So I do think that there is a little bit of I don't know if there's going to be consistent starts for me in Grand Rapids if Costa's still there. So I'm going to go back to where I know I can get those consistent starts.
Yeah. I mean, playing time might be a factor. I just have a really hard time believing that the Wings had any problem with this.
I don't think
sure
they did. No.
Right. No, I'm not saying you did. I'm not saying that's what you said either. I'm new thought.
That's we're gonna bullet point our thoughts from now on.
Right.
New thought.
I have a really hard time believing that they had any problem with this whatsoever, man. And not for, and again, I don't even really think it was for what are him and Kosa, coexisting together thing. I think legitimately, just as I said earlier, for player development reasons. I'm sure that they were like, hey, this is what we think is in your best interest, and he said, I want to run it back, and they said, okay. That's fine. Whether that was aligned with their original plan or not, I have a really hard time believing that the Wings have any problem with him doing that.
Also, very interesting tweet by Cam Robinson of Elite Prospects around the time that Trey made the announcement that he was going to return to Michigan State. And actually, I think he made this about a different goaltender who was also returning to their college for a third year, but it does apply to Trey too, obviously. So some goaltenders who played 3 seasons in the NCAA before turning pro: Thatcher Demko, Jake Ottinger, Jeremy Swayman, Ryan Miller, Corey Schneider. So pretty good company to be in if you're Trey Augustine, and also a reason for fans to not freak out about him not turning pro yet. Obviously, as fans, we want him to take that next step so he's closer to being in the winged wheel, but this will not hurt his development. He will be okay.
Top priority should always be the long-term development of players.
Yes.
Which this
Scotty?
Does not hurt in any way, shape, or form.
Yes. Any final thoughts, buddy?
We ball.
We do ball. We'll be back with a new episode tomorrow. Stay tuned for that. Same time, same place. It's your team every day.
Every day.